Video decoding. Introduction. Greetings, dear friends. Today I will answer the questions you ask me in the comments. Have a nice time. Viewing light or darkness. The universe prefers balance. Do you consider your path perfect? No one is perfect but us. There is something to strive for and someone to look up to. We consider our path correct and useful. Humanity, are you afraid of death? For people like me, there is no death. Am I afraid of death? I speak honestly. The body is finite and mortal. Consciousness is immortal. It only passes from one space suit in the other. The space suits of your relatives are more compatible with you. You have priority while others wait their turn. The body is possible, and it should be perceived as a temporary attraction in which eternity is not so boringly spent. You have this opportunity. Your parents gave this meaning is contained even in the word itself. Parents gave birth to bodies. Now imagine from the standpoint of this concept. What kind of pig are you putting your deceased relatives on when you decide to become child-free? You were given. They will chase the body, but you decided not to return the debt. Ugly, the body is finite and mortal. Consciousness is immortal. Just passes from one spacesuit to another. It is important to understand that this is not an assumption. This information, known and reliably proven in certain circles. I can prove it to you too, but again without appropriate training. Information will meet serious resistance from you. Mind, your main problem is the illusion of knowledge and fanatical belief in these illusions, who, by means of PR technology, skillfully and carefully create what they are for you. Looks like a scientist and calls himself one. At the same time, you have no reason for them. Do not trust. Reasons for doubts are skillfully hidden from you by those who are extraordinary, aware of how your brain and consciousness work. The tangle unravels with backside. First, I must give you reason to doubt, and only then it is possible to reasonably point out errors. I am currently working on this. I am collecting evidence for you, both on this topic and on a number of topics that I touched on in the video about God. How often do I do sports? How often do you play sports? I try to practice every day. Legs. This is the second heart. Sport is the cheapest and easiest way to get an effect. Books and practices that really helped me. NRT, please recommend books or specific practices for mental health or for fighting with neuroses, or tell me what you think about this topic in general. The cause of neurosis is most often this: lack of magnesium, potassium, vitamin D3 and K2, physical activity and sleep. If you eliminate these deficits, there is a 90% probability that you will get rid of anxiety disorder. The breathing technique that I showed in this video effectively relieves anxiety and stress from neurosis. The deconcentration technique can also help. It is used in special services. Used in those cases when an employee must make a balanced decision without emotions. It is very simple but effective for training. You need to do the following. Look first to the right, then to the left. Turn the eyes to one side and, in the second, yes, several times. Then look to the left and focus. Shift attention to the right. Then vice versa. The eyes look to the right. The focus of attention is reduced to the left. In this exercise you must understand that eye movement and your attention are separate and independent. Essence, then you need to look straight ahead and make a full circle with the focus of attention. Clockwise, then counterclockwise. Then, with your attention, try to highlight different objects in the field of vision without moving at the same time. Eyes select the objects until you feel that you are holding the focus in the entire field of vision. You will notice that the thoughts are from the head left and will not worry about anything anymore. Next, you can feel the distance to the object in the field of view and even present itself in volume. Premises: this experience is similar to psychedelic in that it also destroys established ones. Patterns of behavior. This is a useful technique for making guided decisions exclusively with the mind in isolation. Emotions tell us about your time management. The simpler time management is, the more effective it is. My time management. How I manage everything, or not. I make a list of 4 tasks for the day and I complete them from the very morning. If I can be stable for 2 weeks, complete 4 tasks a day, I add 1 more task. And so until I reach my adequate one. Maximum, which I try to maintain for a long time. Professor, thanks for the video. Why are psychedelics still taboo, even though they are not addictive? Please make a video about psychedelics and why they are so unpopular in society in the absence of them. Habits, for example. You answered your own question. They do not cause dependencies, therefore, in fact, enjoy limited popularity. Their main effect is a restart of the nervous system. Systems, resetting established patterns, creating neural connections where they usually do not occur. Psychedelics, v. Particularities of LSD, according to the conviction of specialists from the CIA, p. Ryamoy way to turn on extrasensory abilities. But, of course, we are not talking about recreational use with the purpose of getting high, but within the framework of educational ones. Programs and programs of special training, formed in the 70s of the last century. Where is the power and where do drugs go after seizure? Law enforcement agencies devait confiscated drugs. Confiscated, correctly designed. Drugs are subject to disposal or can be used for research. The procedure for their scientific use. Incredibly bureaucratized, so most often they prefer to dispose of them. Should be by design. Yes. In practice, the following happens. They confiscated a lot. More than indicated in the documents. This is especially true with confiscated cocaine. If it happened, then what? Cocaine was the seal of some cartel. It is removed and then sold without the seal. There are stores on the market that have close ties to security forces. They are the main marketing tool. Confiscation. You must understand that this entire industry is an efficient system. Monetization of your sins, both ordinary citizens and representatives of the authorities. All laws and prohibitions have only one goal. Increase profit from activity. Interested parties. Professor, what do you say about energy drinks? What benefit do they bring and what harm? Energy workers. I drank, I know, I tell. They sell like hotcakes in stores today. Ban on sale. Minors. This is sugar with caffeine and taurine. In some cases with synthetic vitamins of group B. This harmful causes insulin resistance and injures like amphetamines, especially in the background. Regular use. The benefit is for students during the session, for truckers or drivers who. There is a long drive at night. It is better to drink an energy drink than to fall asleep at the wheel. Die in a road accident. Taurine, by the way, is an important component. He is to a significant extent. Relieves the burden on the liver. And you can even declare that this is a rather useful component in this rattle. Mixture. Instead of prohibitions, I would have regulated the composition and quantity of sugar, as well as the list, at the place of the state. Sugar substitutes available for use. Tell me please. THC oil is really dangerous. About oils and barbiturates. Now young people are very much on it. I think that young people sit on everything they insert. In butter, as I understand it. About THC oil. This is a concentrate that is dirtier and more toxic effect than the classic head. The principle is about the same as in the question. Seeds. Useful. Seed oils are extremely harmful due to the very essence of technology. Processing process. Good day, the hotel. Where do I keep my money now and why? To find out where is the best place to store money at the moment precisely for the simple. A commoner, not a tycoon. If you are from the CIS, then in the shares of the largest Russian companies. Companies, half in technological, half in raw materials. I prefer stocks. And businesses because you understand it, you can also understand it quickly. It is enough to master logic and understand the structure of the world economy. I anticipate the question, why precisely Russian companies? The probability that everything will be fine with them, the biggest one. Russia has proven its stability in front of the United West. a coalition that few can boast of. There will only be a demand for resources. To grow if there is no experience and knowledge, then it is best to start with real estate. Buy it. Commercial real estate, and try to organize a business on this site yourself. So you will understand the basic sell. Formation of added value. You will understand that instead of a pension, it is better to count on the purchase of a one-room apartment in a sleeping area or an apartment in a resort. There may not be pensions, but there is demand for real estate. Will remain invest in yourself as well, in any personal skill that you demonstrate. To perfection few people realize it, but even a turner can become a turner these days. Dollar millionaire, if he finds a way to use his skill for the benefit of a large number of people. If you already have a similar skill, then pay attention to social networks. If you do something well, then to people. It will certainly be interesting to watch you, especially if you find the right approach to the audience. Dear, my opinion about privateers, bets, gambling. Professor, if you notice this comment, it would be very interesting to know your attitude to bloggers who advertise KPEV. And in general, how do you feel about ludomania rates, various trainings, givas and, of course, marathons are desirable. As cynical as it may sound, but all these people ultimately benefit you. They exploit your weakness, your desire to do nothing, but at the same time have many resources. By doing so, they teach you. They eliminate frivolity and naivety in you. People often pay a lot for such lessons. Are paying, in my opinion, even too expensive. I would like to highlight separately. Trainings and marathons are desirable. If the training helps someone to achieve a positive result, then he has it. Right to life. The concept of the marathon is desirable, in my opinion, greatly underestimated and unreasonably excessive. Filled with skepticism. There is a proven experiment, like a chicken by its own power. Thoughts are forced by work on a digital control, the coordinates of which are randomly set according to P. By the Monte Carlo method. Move near the transparent cage where the chick is hidden. The kid really wants to be closer to the robot, which he perceives as his favorite due to the design features of the experiment. This experiment proves a number of important points. The brain is able to influence electrical appliances at a distance. The brain is able to independently select the algorithm and method of influence. That's all. The brain of an ordinary chicken is capable. Now imagine what hidden possibilities the human brain has. Incomparably more complicated than chicken. The power of intention exists. This reliable fact, how can it be used effectively? Question on my look. This is a promising direction for scientific research. Professor, yes. About cartels and routes of their goods. The assumption that the cartel has the opportunity to lay logistics by sea through the north, because this is the most unprotected part. But why does no one use it? Why don't you think so? Does it use where there is an opportunity to reach by yacht or fly by plane? There means you can deliver drugs. If the method is not widely used, then there are objective reasons, and most often, they are economic. Paving a new logistics path is expensive and risky. It is much smarter to use proven tools developed over the years. What will happen if all drugs, alcohol and cigarettes disappear in the country? And what will happen if all the drugs, including alcohol and cigarettes, are completely disappear from the country? My dear friends, the formulation of the question is as naive as the argument about how wonderful the world would be if there were no evil people, swindlers and traitors will remain. This, unfortunately, is part of it. Our reality. People are prone to such things. The outcome of their history. The urge to self-destruction does not decrease. The most rational and humane approach. Scientific, he will objectively evaluate all drugs known to man and leave only the most available to people. Harmless, both from an individual and from a public point of view. To carry out the work, then it will be clear that the producer of vodka, as well as the holder, 24-hour grocery store was killed or maimed for his life. More people than conventional MDMA producer. They are close in terms of their efficiency in the utilization of people to heroin sellers. To my deep regret, in relation to all lovers of scraps, but dry scientific facts. They talk about exactly that. Drugs are allowed or prohibited against any common sense, and someone must finally carry out a scientific revision of the existing drug policy. This task, quite feasible. All the resources for this are there. This question is being raised more and more often all over the world. And there is hope that once common sense prevails, it will strengthen the positive effect of rational harm reduction, possible by creating feedback links. The industry causes damage, but generates money. It is necessary to build institutions for extracting funds from the industry and so on. Their effective return to society. I do as much as I can. I show an example, and it's nice to see how my colleagues in the industry follow friends. You ask me thousands of questions in the comments, and that's it. I will answer only some of them. Therefore, I decided to give each of you the opportunity to write to me literally. Everything you want, whether it's just a question or a business proposal. Write to mine Telegram username on the screen and in the description under this video. I am sitting on this profile. I am giving a link to my personal Telegram. Personally, so the message is paid. The price is due to spam protection so that you carefully formulated your requests. Connections. What about fly agaric? Edenia is very popular, as I see. People. Mushrooms instead of alcohol? They tell how alcohol is tied with the help of fly agaric marketing. Toadstools really, like other psychedelics, they break established patterns of behavior. Ancient Greeks, these stable, in some cases self-aware thought patterns, were called demons. Now programmers use the same term to call programs working in the background. Alcoholism, drug addiction, drunkenness, and other variations. Destructive behavior is able to maintain its existence in the brain long enough, often until the end of life. However, the introduction of psychedelics creates neural connections in new, non-standard, non-physiological places. From this point of view, the brain can get an opportunity to estimate the damage it has self-inflicted and begin to correct the situation. Treatment of destructive patterns. This also includes PTSD. It is reliably possible with the help of psychedelics. This is already a proven fact. The second thing is because of the moral panic. The safety of this approach raises doubts among people. As for the fly agaric, then I would not recommend taking it. For the reason that a number of cases causes extremely persistent neurological effects that do not pass by themselves. If the effects appeared negative, it can worsen the quality of life in the long term. Psilocybin and LSD, in my opinion, is more preferable for therapy due to their greater study. Anyway, our Slavic ancestors grew old, used fly agaric. Probably, our science should study this question more deeply and in more detail. Perhaps, Amanita seems to be a more effective and safer alternative to the researched and applied ones. Now psychedelics. Interesting fact. LSD is officially manufactured and used in medical practice in Switzerland. As a businessman is not. Why I don't invest in artists, and I'm not going to. Invests in artists. We invest in artists. We invest in scientists and just talented people. Look at my actors. What are they? All handsome professor. Tell us about your top 10 books that you would. Top 10 books. Advised to read. It is very interesting. What inspires you or what kind of literature interests you? There was a video. Very interesting. Thank you for what you do. The whole video. I don't think it makes sense. Take off. I will give a list of important, in my opinion, books. Things that I consider important to me personally. You probably don't. You will understand. Dune. Fran Herbert. Logic. George Chelpanov. Manual on Mnemonics. Chelpanov. Quran. Bible. Torah. I highlighted it in one row, because it's all the same thing. Vimkov. Iceman. 1984. George Orwell. George's Farm. Aldous Huxley's Orwell on a Strange New World. I strongly recommend reading the whole thing. Carlos Castaneda's works are about a dozen books, but not everyone can read them. Discard prejudices and unfounded skepticism, and you need to understand what the author is. A qualified scientist who came across a number of phenomena persistently incomprehensible to our science and which he tried to describe and document in detail. If you are really interested in perceiving the world around you, you are not biased. It is important to study these materials. They radically change the way they look at. What do governments and arms barons have in common? Peace. Here we have two similar questions. It would be great to hear about the weapons. Barons, about where they get the goods, how they transport them and how they sell them. One more. I would like to know about the illegal turnover of legal weapons. Is the government really supports and controls these two aspects, and what are their benefits? The government sells weapons. This is not a secret for anyone, but states cannot always do it head-on for a number of reasons. These reasons are primarily political. In order to sell weapons to the bad guys, and do not lose face in the eyes of the world community. Spetslubi. Different countries and states of arms barons. Why arm the bad guys? You ask, the answer is very simple and therefore ingenious. This is the solution. Questions a favorite reception of Western gentlemen. To cultivate the bad ones. To train and arm them, while giving them the most cannibalistic ideology imaginable, so that after they have completed the necessary tasks, they could be heroically killed. To neutralize Osama bin Laden, Saddam Hussein, a number of communists around the world. The chatter, we do not play such adult games yet. We are not adults. After all, we ourselves are in ours. In the recent communist past, they were the worst. How to make people everything. Give and live ascetically as possible for generations. Convince them that everything, what they are building, general. Then this common property can be easily taken into private ownership. Hands of your agents played a series of performances that we know under the brand perestroika and privatization. They should be played when you see that the situation is getting out of hand. Control-blind people will blame Gorbachev, Chubai, Gaidar, Yeltsin. Now it is fashionable to blame Putin on anyone but himself, and, of course, organizers skillfully playing on human stupidity and weaknesses. The greatest minds of mankind directed and produced this scene. They should be given their due. The saddest thing. With all this, the performance can be repeated regularly, until the people smarten up and begin to realize their own interests. This is partly why logic has been removed from the education system everywhere on the planet. A person without knowledge of logic can be charismatically poured into the ears of any fairy tales. A person in the vast majority of cases will believe them unconditionally. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, huge stockpiles of weapons remained. This weapon is in the warehouses of the former communist bloc, spread around the world thanks to these very gun barons. We are driven only by thirst. Personal life, they laid time-delayed mines everywhere on the planet, armed countless criminal terrorist organizations. And these mines explode every now and then in different corners of our country. Planet's mines are now regularly set off in Africa, the Middle East, the Balkans, and the Caucasus. After the end of the war in Ukraine, the situation with bloodshed in Europe only will worsen. One act of the performance will end, and the next one will begin. And the actors, ordinary people in this future meat grinder. Answering your question, weapon heroes. Only a consequence of the gnats of the superpowers. The same pawns as the drug syndicates and the private military company. How do they get weapons? Corruption and venality, trickery, etc. Purposefulness, as well as the patronage of smart and strong people. How to transport all the same ways as in smuggling of drugs and people. Read more about it in my video Contraband, and there is also a planned film about border crossings. How can we protect children? Is your program well thought out for prevention or how to protect children? My position. Only treatment and palliative care, as in modern medicine? This is the most difficult aspect of my plan. I need to tell the younger generation that drugs are not what they need in life. At the same time, it is interesting to do it so that they want to watch my videos. The most effective prevention is education. Parents should teach the child to challenge their compulsive behavior. Not all are adults themselves capable of such. I can't replace my parents, because I'm just a blogger from internet. You will show your face to 10 million subscribers. Let's go. Will I ever show my face? Let's hold such a challenge. It will be a motivation for me to gain such a quantity. Subscribers subscribe so that it will be announced as soon as possible. By the way, there is another way. You probably wondered what kind of self-portrait it is. This is Mori coin. Let it be the main one. Supervillain meme, it's in trend now. Big start in a month. $500 million of capitalization will be removed. That's a coin meme. Wait. And be the first. Music. How did I learn to delegate? Holders, how to learn to trust and delegate like you. How hard? Do your specialists pass the selection? Thank you for such kind words. In our case it is somewhat easier than in ordinary business. After all, we are all a priori engaged in illegal things, which means we are bound. On blood we have a restraining and consolidating factor, an external enemy, who is stronger than us. In addition, I make great efforts to create and convey a large-scale mission to ours team mission that goes beyond the scope of this sphere. To me, to the leader, it is extremely important that our team members do not think like gangsters from movies planning news. Drug business until old age. I gave them a goal, no less ambitious, but extending beyond this black sphere. As a result, my people think outside the fast paradigm. Profit and crime, but 100% success looks like that only from the outside. In practice, any plot, especially large enough like ours, it's a lot of work, and not everything goes well smoothly and according to the plan as much as we would like it. Everything is minnows, regardless of the qualification of the regalia. And in order to continue to hold on, the planned course, despite all the difficulties, requires will. Within the same framework. Legal business, you will have to go the same way with some differences. You will be obliged to form an ideology within your team and develop a method for yourself. Evaluation of people on the subject of compliance with this ideology and your internal ones. Standards. Within the framework of your business, you must create a kind of sect. Remember, my friends, a sect is the highest form of human cooperation. This form stands even higher than the state. If you delve into the question, you will see that any successful organization or company is always a sect. If you are engaged in an exclusively legal business, your people probably will be fearless and therefore fearless in the matter of breach of duty, responsibilities, kickbacks, bribes, espionage, working for competitors. Even if the situation opens up, the maximum threat for them is dismissal. And in rare cases get in the face. Agree, not so scary. In Russia, very many terrible things, including the seizure of business and severe forced labor. Bankruptcy of enterprises, carried out strictly according to the law. And often to this. To face adversity effectively, you need to know how to break it correctly and cleanly. This is the same law. Alas, but law-abidingness does not always appear a guarantee of safety in our difficult times. The best thing is that we, simple people, we can understand the rules of the game and follow them without prejudice. Not. At the same time, deceive no one and do not betray. Do not bite the hand that feeds you and gives you opportunities. If you carefully study the stories of the rise and fall of various personalities, you will definitely find at least one somewhere. Violation of these. The most dangerous situation in my life. Commandments. What was the most dangerous situation in your life you faced? The most dangerous situation is stretched out in time. Everything I do is chronic. Carries a threat for me. And when you live with it constantly, you simply get used to it. You stop noticing. There is no romance in my path. There is only chronic stress to which I manage to adapt. I do not recommend anyone to do something like this. I have a goal like me. She seems worthy to spend this life on her. And that's why I consciously go. At similar risks. Professor, I would like to release Fr. What is happening in medicine now? Achievements in medicine and what is currently being worked on. Now we are active. Human research of our bacterial cancer vaccine. As the results will be, I will definitely report about it. Roller. If everything goes according to plan, we will certify the drug in the CIS and release it to the masses through the OMS system. I will also have to make a video with a detailed explanation of the sabotage successfully carried out on the territory. Our country and in the territories of our closest neighbors in the CIS in the field of science and health care. Bottles are needed for Panchchina, Leiden, the Sokolov brothers, Alipov and others. Demons in the service of USAID and its friendly organizations. Alipova. You will probably even like the bottle. Gentlemen supported by us. A doctor pediatrist from a neighboring friendly state successfully tested the experimental protocol. Photodynamic therapy of tuberculosis, resistant to antibiotics, practiced, by the way, against a number. Severe viral infections, which preachers like Panchin and Alipov are so diligently trying to silence. This protocol is now the basis of his doctoral dissertation. It is patented by the Ego family, as well as a specialized medical center for the study and application of this treatment method will be opened in the future. Distribution of branches throughout the CIS. This is our significant victory, in my opinion. Glance, we haven't made any progress on the rabies yet. There are no specialists allowed to work with it. Dangerous virus. If you are just like that, then write to us. Let's work together. We will conduct research and patent the method specifically for you. I also cook material that is very important, in my opinion, for the younger generation, which is looking for its place in a rapidly developing world. The future lies in plasma physics and the study of highly organized plasma. Plasma in biological organisms. It is hidden here, not in genetics. The secret of programmable beauty, eternal youth, eternal life, regeneration, tissues, organs and limbs and so on. Your body knows how to do everything. You may need it in life. You just need to learn how to use it correctly and all the things included in it. Functions. Dear Professor, please release a video about the Freemasons, Templars, etc. When will there be an issue about Masons, Templars and Assassins? Assassins, it is planned, but judging by the ambiguous reaction of the audience to my video, oh God, the audience is not yet sufficiently prepared for information of this kind. It is necessary to show that. More importantly, to prove my expertise in a number of important issues, so that my story was understood and perceived correctly. Be patient, he will definitely come out. As part of a multi-part documentary film. In short, I can say that Freemasons have several states of their own, and technically they are much more advanced than you can imagine. They are the first and most successful club in the network among representatives. Intelligentsia from different social classes. Their key idea is Hermeticism, closely connected with cosmology and physics. There were many clever people of their time. Freemasons Benjamin Franklin and Isaac Newton. What is it worth? About. The Templars should be noted for the fact that it was they who invented such a phenomenon. How empty they are, one of the architects of the existing financial system. Banking system to a lesser extent than the Order of Malta, of course, but them. The contribution is also very significant. The video will be about secret societies in general. There are so many topics for videos, and I am here. There is only one of you. It is true that there is a shadow. Do I believe in the shadow government? Government. You can create a series. Very interesting to hear and see. In continuation of the previous one. Question: there is no unified world government, but there are groups of influential people who compete for this title. All reasonable people understand that the world government is in some form. Humanity needs. However, all at the same time they want to see themselves on this important post. It will be agreed until it works. How did the idea come from? The story of my mask. How it all began. A mask with melted gold? I think I said in one of my interviews that my mask is filled with multi-level symbolism, where gold symbolizes wealth. The skull symbolizes death. These are the attributes of what my soul brings to humanity. Industry, there are alternative, but equally fair interpretations. Skull. This is an ancient symbol of a person. Gold symbolizes value. Location. Gold resembles the brain leaving the skull. In combination with the name of my channel and my pseudonym, which can be interpreted as two words in Latin. See. Mors. Mortis in Latin means death, and ars artis meaning art. Turns out peculiar. A requiem for true human art and creativity, which has recently been replaced by tasteless ones. Surrogates, you can tell in more detail how the psychotropic and hallucinogenic market is actually structured. On the production and sale of psychotropics and hallucinogens, for example, psilocybin, mushrooms, LSD and so on. We are now preparing a large and voluminous video about psilocybin and mescaline. It will be interesting. A separate video should be made about alternative psychedelics. About LSD, ayahuasca, DMT should be told in more detail. Hello, Professor. I have anonymity. Such a question. The last video talked about you and your team. You control anonymity and minimize risks, but you are still an ordinary person. Is it scary that in any moment you or your team can make a mistake that will cost lives? No, it's not scary. If we do it right, there will be no consequences for us in the usual sense. This whole business is an exam for us, but not the main job, so to speak. At this stage, I have to form a team and acquire a number of skills for a more important and more serious one. Tasks, books for reading while traveling. Read the books based on the problems that. Why reading doesn't make you smarter if you don't understand one thing you put in front of you. Read books as phenomena will not make you more effective or smarter. Reading itself is very useful because it is cognitive exercise machine, but just reading, if you have already learned, is not enough. It's like a fire. Continue to work with lightweight. Try to give progression to the load, for example, develop contractions. Better. Thousands of words per minute. Believe me, it will give much more effect than the usual reading for information consumption. Thanks for the work. I would like to hear in more detail about the work of couriers, shops, etc. Couriers are rare. Become car owners. About red and black stores, about how they pour out employees to the authorities, about how they order mutilation and physical torture. Good topic for roller. We will definitely take it. It's interesting, after all, about the effects of each narcotics to find out and the consequences for health from everyone. Also the topic of rehabilitation of addicted people. Friends, I would like to shoot interesting videos, and not on the fly. I can announce a video about alpha and about mushrooms. Are planned to be released in the near future. Make an issue about the first one somehow. Steps and system of exit from the sphere, about changing thinking in life. Apparently in those. The main rule in shadow business. Who wants to leave? There will be problems from this. Remember, friends, it's your time. The main enemy in this industry. Do not waste your earned money on beauty. Life, build the best business and buy real estate. Your task, if you. I was lucky to get caught in the stream and not end up in prison. As soon as possible, get back on your feet in a legal way. Planes and tie with the industry. Anonymity, an illusion, but on the other side. Highly motivated professionals who are just waiting. So that you are finally wrong. It would be interesting to see a video of how it is set up. How drug trafficking is organized in the USA and China. Do they have bookmarks? Drug trafficking in other countries, such as the USA or China. Do they have bookmarks? Through which resources are distributed? Each country is unique in this matter, and the countries you are interested in are unique, especially since they have the most powerful economies on the planet. Crime, ego, power, and influence is directly proportional to the country's wealth. If you want to get really authentic information, it is necessary to shoot a separate video about both China and the USA. Neither there, nor there are no bookmarks yet. But their emergence is only a matter of time. In China, for drug distribution, the death penalty is imposed, as well as because of membership in a secret organization. Secret organizations in China are called triads. They engage in all types of criminal activities. Activity and drugs are no exception. Due to such a severe punishment of the tribe, work exceptionally cleanly. After all, literally any mistake can cost them life due to the existence of the death penalty. Even for the very fact of membership in triad, members of the organization almost never come into contact with official state services. After all, in this case, you are guaranteed to die either by your own hands or by your own hands. Communists at the same time, you will become the cause of the death of your fellows. If you were discovered, you are already considered dead. Mainland China. And the exclusive collectivism characteristic of the mentality of the Chinese is a serious factor. Restraining treachery. The severity of punishment acts as a factor in the selection of criminal conditions and their consolidation. For this reason, little is known about the true scope of the Chinese Mafia. All the information that leaks into popular circles refers either to the activity of triots in the society of expats or outside mainland China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Chinatowns around the world, and so on. Further, to what extent did the triads infiltrate the Communist Party? The question is complicated, but interesting for the sake of my viewers. I am ready to conduct an investigation and create a separate video about it, but I'll say right away, it will take time. As for the drug trade in the USA, it is important to understand that almost all spheres of life are very good in the USA. Decentralized for any force, a double is always created, a counterbalance for control and competition. And, in this sense, Russia is learning from the USA. The establishment of the Rashvardia and the Investigative Committee is one of these mechanisms. Slander in us. But let's get back to the Americans. In the United States, there are several types of drug trafficking. Levels. The first level is the official state level. Sale of legal drugs through the system. Healthcare. Doctors from OTCATs, hospitals, pharmaceutical companies have the main profit. There is such a wonderful movie that you can watch with your girlfriend. It is called Love and Medicines. He amazingly accurately conveys the essence of the healthcare system in the United States. By viewing of this film, mentally replace Viagra, which is actively featured in this film. Namphetamine, methamphetamine, Ritalin, Vicodin, Xanax and other drugs, which can be absolutely legally prescribed by a doctor in the USA. Especially if on, you will name the necessary set of symptoms. According to the protocol, they have to prescribe you drugs. In the USA, doctors are mainly protocol doctors. This means that they are obliged to act according to the scripts prescribed for them. What is actively used by hobbyists? Stormy night under amphetamine, patients with narcolepsy or ADHD. Level 2. Unofficial state. This is wrong. Mostly Democrats. After all, it is precisely in their states that the population is addicted to cocaine and various opiates, including fentanyl. Drugs are imported into the country through the channels of the special services and the army, and are actively sold through sales channels that have been established over many years. Democrats, too, are lobbying for active migration to the USA. Their concept of development is as follows. Actively vacuums up people from other countries and then passes them through a multi-level meat grinder to turn people into money. Those who are smarter go through the startup industry. They are showered with money and given opportunities. Instead in fierce competition. I often use drugs, sacrificing sleep, health and personal life, like squirrels. Will forced to generate new ideas and work for the benefit of the growth system. GDP not being able to stop. After all, the same ambitious are breathing in the back. But hungry competitors who are only waiting for the moment of your weakness so that. Take your place. Hunger, by the way, is also cultivated deliberately by culture. Overconsumption and luxury. The one who could not stand the race and left the distance. Become homeless. They leave for another state or country, or become drug addicts on benefits. Money earned from drugs are washed away and invested again in startups and technologies. Cruel, but must recognize an effective conveyor, which is possible thanks to active striving. People from all over the world in the USA. When the issue of population and population growth is resolved, with a slight relaxation in the policy of issuing green cards, you can afford it and not. Such experiments on society. Cynically, definitely effectively, Veen. Any doubts? Level 3. Unofficial. Non-governmental. These are different. Mafia clans of migrants in the USA. Chinese, Italian, Irish, Russian, Latin mafias, black gangs. Street drug trade 1. From sources of income for all these groups. Their operation may differ with amendments to particulars. The ethnic affiliation of the members of the criminal structure, but that will be only details. In general, it's the same. Drugs, prostitution, betting, racketeering, murder and robbery. Their scale. Activities in comparison with the state drug trade is insignificant. They are at the very bottom. Drug pyramids, performing the functions of the final link in the sales chain. For the USA. A question of ethnic groups, a question of existential importance. The main risk. For the USA, except for a potential war with China or Russia, it is a large-scale civil war between the above. Organized criminal groups, all of which are armed to the teeth. Automatic weapons. Latin Mafia, armed and financed by the Mexican drug cartels, is so influential that it already has a significant impact on all spheres of life. Americans, starting with culture and ending with direct political decisions. You don't even introduce yourself. The amount of illegal activity that occurs on the border of the United States and of Mexico, the flow of migrants, like in movies about zombies. Underground and terrestrial. Transport of narcotics and fake branded goods in whole echelons. Trucks, and the scale is only growing. With the money earned, this force buys politicians and representatives of special services. And like a tumor spreads further. White American aristocrats from the families of the founding fathers and the workers who support them, as well as honest ones. Businessmen, digging into themselves dissatisfaction. And the stronger the positive discrimination and their rights are infringed, that is, their dissatisfaction becomes stronger. Whites tolerate, but their patience is not limitless, and when it ends, armed white workers will come out streets and make a real war with blacks, Latinos and everyone. Other minorities that come to hand. All means will be used. Democratic institutions that exist in the USA. And taking into account their number and a huge number of automatic weapons in the hands of citizens, one can safely state that the massacre will be at its highest degree of blood. The American authorities are aware of this challenge and are working hard. Above P. Reduction of this scenario. Everyone is familiar with the invitation to the cinema. Only one example of similar measures. The USA adopted the experience of the USSR in construction of multiculturalism and how effectively they will implement this experience in themselves, and their future fate will depend on it. In order not to tell you on TV, it is in Russia's interest for the USA to remain as a single and political state. A counterweight to China. Without the USA and Europe, it will be difficult for Russia to defend itself. Their interests before the growing power of a monstrous neighbor.